Hello, I'm Professor Throckmorton P. Gildersleeve, and welcome to the Open Game License Hour. Join myself and Dr. Rufus D. Firefly as we share a very special 17-hour live stream discussing Open Game License 1.1. Nah, not really. Howdy, 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 gang, and welcome once again to the Duct Tape Studios. I am not Professor Throckmorton P. Gildersleeve. I'm Jeff McAleer, your host here at the Gaming Gang Dispatch, brought to you by, incredibly enough, thegaminggang.com, of which I happen to be the founder and editor-in-chief. So welcome aboard. Tonight is Tuesday, January 10th, 2023. This is live stream 872. Peace, bros and sisters. If you're not familiar with this show, let me point out, super casual around here. Just hanging out, talking about the latest in tabletop gaming news. And we'll take a look at a tabletop game. Tonight will be no different. We're actually going to be diving on in for an unboxing and first look at Tiletum from Board and Dice. I know last night I had mentioned we were going to take a look at Broncolonia, the Macaronicon supplement, and I finished the stream up and I sat there and I thought to myself, I could have swore we've done a first look at that book. Like, it was sitting right by me because when I did my RPG and, my fantasy RPG and my science fiction RPG videos, I had to pull a bunch of stuff off of the shelves behind me. And it was sitting there. I'm like, wow, you know what? I don't think I've talked about this. And that's why I grabbed it last night and said, hey, this is what's on tomorrow's show. And after the stream ended, I kept thinking, no, I've looked at this. I've shared a first look at this. And then I took a peek and it's like, oh yeah, I had. So Tiletum was going to be next week, but we'll make it tonight. So there we go. There we have it. I've always got backups to my plans when they go up in smoke. Anyway, so welcome aboard. So if you are tuning in last minute, because it was earlier today that I revealed what we're looking at tonight, but if you are tuning in to check out Tiletum, then let me point out, we always tackle the tabletop gaming news first. So it's going to be probably 35, 40 minutes, maybe even a little bit longer before we jump on into the unboxing. So if you're watching live, kick back, relax, take it easy, be good to yourself. I've got cool stuff to talk about in the tabletop gaming news portion. But if you are watching this 30 minutes or more after the stream ends, there will be timestamps. So if you are impatient and you want to just jump right into the unboxing, you can certainly do that. Those timestamps are located in the show notes, and depending on what device you may happen to be using, they might actually be right there on the screen in front of you in the video's timeline. All depends on what you happen to be using. Of course, when you're not watching videos on the Gaming Gang channel, be sure to visit thegaminggang.com for all latest in tabletop gaming news, reviews, and a whole lot more that you won't find here on the YouTube channel. You know the drill. Get your geek on at thegaminggang.com. Lastly, this is a live stream, so that means there is chat available. It's not on screen. It's one of the ways I keep some of the more unusual commenters at bay. And you must be a subscriber to the channel for at least 48 hours before you can take part in chat. Yet another way that I keep some of the more unusual commenters at bay. But if you want to say howdy, maybe you've got a question, a comment, by all means, chime in. I will do my best to respond. So first out the gate tonight, one of our chat moderators, Mr. Eddie T, is with us, as is Flaming Huron, another of our chat moderators, and Sarah D, another of our chat moderators. Wancho Dumagal is with us. So welcome. Joseph Quam, I did that again. It's not as if Joseph's name is impossible to pronounce. Yeah. Yeah, sometimes I feel like, now I'm going to go like way back. And if you're not from the Chicago area, you probably would not remember this at all. But sometimes when I'm speaking, I feel like I'm the character Blob from BJ and the Dirty Dragon, or later Giggle Snort Hotel. And Blob would speak like, and the only person who could understand him was Bill Johnson, BJ. So yes, I know I'm going way. So if you are from the Chicago area and you are ancient like I am, you probably remember, well, you'll remember Giggle Snort Hotel. You may not go far enough back to remember BJ and Dirty Dragon. I certainly do. I actually went and saw them at a theater for a show. And we're probably looking at, maybe that was 73, so it could not have been older than maybe 5 or 6. Yeah. Stray Kismet and Joseph Quam is with us. Russell Higgins, Kathy Evans, and Christopher Rush has shown up early. Christopher usually shows up moments before the stream ends. Coco B is with us as well. Who else do we got? Liquid Nebula's in the house. I think I have said hello to everyone out there. So very, very cool. Welcome aboard, everybody. Yes, the open game license fiasco continues. We'll talk a little bit about that after the news. Once again, as I mentioned last night, this is not going to turn into the open game license hour, as I jokingly referred to it before the show opened up. Well, I will mention some developments I thought were pretty wild. Very cool. All right. Anyway, let's jump on into the news, because this summer is going to see the release of a new Exit the Game title from Cosmos, and it's one which features the world's greatest detective. Here's the latest on the disappearance of Sherlock Holmes. Sherlock Holmes needs your help. The famous journalist Ignatius Lloyd was murdered shortly after an article he published portrayed Sherlock Holmes as an imposter. There are leads that make Holmes the prime suspect in the murder, and Holmes has disappeared. Dr. Watson has turned to you to get to the bottom of things. How did Holmes become the accused? And what role did Moriarty play? Can you support Dr. Watson in searching for evidence, following the clues, and solving the case riddle by riddle? Exit the Game, the disappearance of Sherlock Holmes, is for 1 to 4 players, ages 12 and up, plays in 1 to 2 hours, and will carry an MSRP of $17.95 when it arrives this summer. So I have to say, I'm a little curious. Now, Cosmos, Temps and Cosmos, they're legit. Don't get me wrong. But the timing seems very suspect a little bit on this. And I promise you, we are going to see far more Sherlock Holmes content out there because it was just the other day that Sherlock Holmes has now officially entered into the public domain. Yes, because there were some that argued that his final appearance kept him under copyright protection. No longer. So if you want to create a Sherlock Holmes game or book, you want to write stories about Sherlock Holmes, you can feel free. He is now in the public domain. But gotta say, I like to see that the exit games are kind of branching out a little bit. There's a Lord of the Rings edition of this. I think there's another IP that they're doing a mystery about as well. So Kevin R. Smith is with us in chat, pointing out, yes, Sherlock Holmes are now public domain. Yes, it just was the other day, I believe, just the other day, that the world's greatest detective became the world's possession. Let's talk about some more gaming news, because there is a new entry into the Coin series from GMT Games. It is currently up on their P500 pre-order list. Here's the skinny on: A Fading Star, Insurgency and Piracy in Somalia. A Fading Star is volume 15 of the Coin series, originally designed by Volku Runke. The year is 2007. We reach the climax of several decades of civil war that have ravaged Somalia since the fall of dictator Sayed Barre in 1991. An African Union coalition, assisted by the Ethiopian army, enters Mogadishu to support a nascent but corrupt transitional federal government. They face a relentless and violent insurgency waged by the Harakat al-Shabaab al-Mujahideen, I think it's Mujahideen, if I remember correctly, an Islamic group serving both to expel the invaders and to transcend the traditional clan-based government structure of Somalia. In the middle of this power vacuum, minor clans and warlords organize themselves to administrate otherwise ungoverned regions, while others engage in large-scale piracy operations, painting their acts as a fight against foreign trawlers pillaging Somali fishing resources. Players can select from 3 different scenarios. A Fading Star is the main 4-campaign scenario through an 8-year-long story starting in 2007, when the federal government resettled in a war-prone Mogadishu. You'll witness the slow decline of piracy and the struggle for an insurgent-free south-central Somalia. This scenario historically ends with al-Shabaab's Emir Ahmed Abdi Godin's death in a U.S. drone strike and the subsequent AMISOM sweepings of major al-Shabaab strongholds. There's also the Lion of Mogadishu scenario, which is 3 campaigns in length starting in 2009. As Ethiopian troops completely withdraw from the country, a precarious situation ensues, leaving the under-equipped AMISOM contingent responsible for the capital's fate. In the countryside, the Somali clans consider their impact on the war as the federal government's days might be numbered. And then finally, there's Fighting for Peace. This happens to be the shortest scenario, where the factions competing through 2 campaigns covering the 4 years following al-Shabaab's 2011 retreat from the capital. The pirates face an existential crisis as they must deal with increased efforts by the seafaring industry and global community to deter their business. At the same time, more clan elders begin to join the country's federalization process. The stage is now set for A Fading Star, as decades of intermittent civil war have laid the foundations for a violent contest between the weak and corrupt transitional federal government, the relatively powerful and flexible al-Shabaab movement, foreign intervention in the form of the African Union mission, and an opportunistic coalition of pirates and regional warlords. A Fading Star Insurgency and Piracy in Somalia is for 1 to 4 players, ages 14 and up, plays in 2 hours or more. Yes, much more. You can reserve a copy at the P500 price of $69 with an eventual MSRP of $99. And as you can see, I am sharing some prototype images with you from the designer. And I gotta say, one aspect of the coin series, which is so appealing, is that it tackles situations and conflicts that you will not find in any other war game or board game. And this sounds really damn interesting. Now, I'm kind of curious how complex this is going to be, because that's one of the aspects about the coin series that can throw people off. So like Cuba Libre is actually pretty light considering it's a coin game from GMT. I didn't want to get in, get your hopes up too high. That's like, oh, wow, I could learn that in like 20 minutes. No, but it's also what I always tell people, a perfect introduction to the coin series of political and conflict simulations from GMT. This looks like this might be kind of a smaller scale as well. Very, very interesting. I am very, very curious about this. So, a bunch of discussion going on in chat. A bit about the open game license nonsense that's still continuing, as well as a bundle of holding, which now has a bundle of open game license fantasy games. So I think that may have launched today because I'm not aware of it. I might be sharing some news of it tomorrow. Chen from Taiwan is with us. Welcome. Welcome back. Good to see you. We've got a nice chat off and running already. Russell Higgins is pointing out they've already transitioned over to Swords and Wizardry, Traveler, and Dungeon Crawl Classics and Mutant Crawl Classics. I'm sure that's what Russell meant, is Dungeon Crawl Classics. I know he typed DDC, but I'm going out on a limb here, taking a guess. Von Moore is with us. Welcome back. Good to see you. Right, well, we're talking a little bit about role-playing games, so let's talk about some role-playing game news, because arriving next month from Paizo Inc. is Pathfinder Treasure Vault. Here's the scoop. Venture into the vault. Pathfinder Treasure Vault reveals the glittering hoard of a terrifying dragon as presented by the creature's plucky kobold assistant. I can only imagine this. That sounds kind of funny. Yes, I am the Great Gorgon's plucky kobold assistant. Hello, how are you? How may I help you? This 224-page hardcover rulebook presents a catalog of new gear from nearly every category of equipment and magic item available in the Pathfinder role-playing game, while also introducing entirely new categories of items as well. Give your character the perfect tool for the job with signature weapons, customizable relics, and wondrous items that fit your every need while preparing for any eventuality with potions, elixirs, wands, and more. Each chamber of the Dragon's Vault contains a mountain of treasure, from deadly new weapons and forgotten suits of armor to mysterious alchemical items and deadly poisons. There is something in the vault for everyone, including nearly 600 new items spread across numerous equipment types, over 50 new weapons, such as the devastating Earthbreaker Hammer and the ferocious Falcata, new shields and armor, from wooden breastplates for druids to the magical Starfall shield that turns you into a living comet. An entire chapter, Alchemy Unleashed, that introduces over 100 new alchemical items, covering everything from restorative lozenges to searing flamethrowers. I would say that's a wide swath there. New magic items of all shapes and sizes, from magical tattoos to artifacts like the goddess Shellen's mighty glaive, the Whisperer of Souls. An entire chapter of new, variant, and expanded crafting rules. And new categories of items that can give you power that comes at a dangerous price. This 224-page hardcover will carry an MSRP of $54.99, or you'll be able to grab the PDF for $19.99 when they arrive February 22nd. And of course, you will get a first look at the Treasure Vault hardcover right here on the Dispatch, because our friends over at Paizo Inc. send along practically everything that comes out for Starfinder and Pathfinder, which is part of their subscription. So, gotta be honest, I don't think I'm going to see that compilation of Fists of the Ruby Phoenix. So, because it was weird. We got like one or two of those Adventure Path chapters of the three. So that was back when things were kind of hit or miss with Paizo as far as getting review copies of stuff. But this should be pretty cool. And you know what? It's the kind of book that players and game masters love. It's equipment, it's magic items, it's new gear, new weapons, new stuff. Plus, we get some new rules as well. I know those out there are a little concerned with Pathfinder and Starfinder and this open game license 1.1. I tell you right now, don't be concerned. And we're going to talk about that a little bit. Like I mentioned, we'll touch on the open game license again after the news. Like I said, we're not going to spend as much time as we talked about it yesterday. But there are a few developments today that I thought were very interesting. So let's talk about a game that is subject to the open game license, because now available in PDF for the Adventure Conqueror King system is the Axiom Compendium Volume 2. Here's the deets from Autark. Created with the support of hundreds of generous patrons, Axioms is a quarterly magazine devoted to the Adventure Conqueror King system. This exclusive compendium compiles the 9th through 16th issues of Axioms in an easy-to-use reference. It includes Issue 9, All Creatures, Great and Small. Issue 10, Macabre Monsters, Twisted Temples, and Grim Guardians. Issue 11, The Empyrean and the Cathodic. Issue 12, The Art of Thievery. Issue 13, Machinery to the Max. Issue 14, Codex and Scroll. Issue 15, Ancient Ways, as well as Issue 16, Wounds and Woe. Among the features within are the Fetid Crypt of Anatu the Defiler, an axe adventure, 9 new monsters, including fairies, nymphs, and Nosferatu, 5 new character classes, including the Dread Priestess of Nazca and the Nosferatu Scion, 2 new playable races, the Nosferatu and the Catapult, rules for creating custom fantasy races, rules for creating dwarven machines, and updates to the mechanics for hijinks, mortal wounds, and more. Well developed and designed for use with Axe, content in Axioms is compatible with any D20-based fantasy role-playing game built upon the open game license. So there is that. The 164-page PDF is available over at Drive-Thru RPG for $10. I believe Autark is another company that is refusing to sign on to 1.1. Might be wrong, because I saw a bunch of tweets from various sources today, but I thought Autark was one. that said they are not going to bow to that tyranny. So we shall see. All right, my final news piece. This probably is going to have, well, okay, I take that back. It's not necessarily OGL per se, but some of the games that you would use this for might be in a little bit of trouble. Now available in PDF for old school Renaissance fantasy role-playing games is Fang, Faith, and Legerdemain. And here's the dope from New Big Dragon Games Unlimited. That's a pretty wild name. Bring additional dimensions to your classic fantasy gaming. This 64-page book presents players and DMs alike with information to expand the playability and possibilities in their campaigns. It's a cornucopia of information on all aspects of the game, including characters, spellcasting, adventures, encounters, monsters, and dungeon mastering. This is truly an indispensable resource for the Classic Edition Dungeon Master. So, BX, Old School Essentials, Labyrinth Lord, etc. This includes detailed and expanded ability score information, character background generation, dual axis alignment information, including alignments for all standard BX monsters, detailed language information, new cleric options for petitions, manufacture of holy water, and turning based on the hit dice of the undead creature. New options for demi-humans establishing their own clans, including the acquisition and use of clan artifacts. New combat options for fighters. New magic user options for cantrips, point-based spellcasting, manufacture of spell scrolls, and familiars. New thief options for finding, disarming, and setting traps. A system for creating custom character classes. Expanded weapon and armor information. Full rules for hiring and using henchmen, hirelings, mercenaries, and specialists. Comprehensive alchemy rules, including descriptions for 64 different potions and potion information. There's information about animal training, new rules for lore checks, reactions, object saving throws, unarmed combat, invisibility, morale, sanity, and madness, the effects of alcohol and drugs, and poison use. Expanded information to assist with monster encounters and rules for monsters as tribal spellcasters. Information about adventuring on the various planes of existence. Details about creation and campaign use of artifacts, and much more. How much could you pack into this? My goodness, it sounds like it's 364 pages. It is not. It is 64 pages. It's available in PDF. It's over at DriveThruRPG. Don't miss it. Fang, Faith, and Legerdemain. It is available for $6.95. This sounds just jam-packed with goodness for your old school Renaissance fantasy role-playing games. It really does. And it seems like it's focused on those that are based on BX. So if you're playing like Basic Expert or Old School Essentials or Labyrinth Lord, those are all built upon BX. Well, BX is BX. Old School Essentials is BX. It's cleaned up with an optional ascending armor class. That's pretty much it. But this sounds really, really cool. And this company, New Big Dragon Games Unlimited, is they actually have a few different items. So this is not just the only thing that they've created to this point. So you might want to check that out. All right, that is it for tonight's news. Of course, I was just talking about DriveThruRPG. Don't forget, the gaming gang, thus the Dispatch, is affiliated with the One Bookshelf sites. So if you are going to visit, say, DriveThruRPG or Dungeon Masters Guild or Storyteller's Vault, by all means, please stop by thegaminggang.com first. Click on one of our banner ads. That way, if you happen to make a purchase, I get a small portion of that sale. And all those nickels, dimes, and quarters really do add up and help keep thegaminggang.com around. Also, if you like this video, if you dig the channel, if you feel thegaminggang.com is a valuable reference. Hell, if you just like what we do, you can always swing on over to paypal.me/thegaminggang and making a small donation, as the madman recently did. And it was not a small donation. So it is much appreciated. And thankfully, there are a good number of people who use either or the banner ads or paypal.me. And I really, really do appreciate it. Thank you very, very kindly. If you're new to the channel or relatively new to the channel, you probably don't realize I don't do Patreon. I don't do Kickstarters to keep the gaming gang around. This is basically, my monetization from YouTube, which, we've already seen what that is. Tain't a whole lot there, Dooley. As well as the one bookshelf sites. That's kind of what pays for thegaminggang.com. Really, really does. And thankfully, the one bookshelf affiliate commissions, I guess we'll say, which is 5%. I've told you that before. So if you purchase something that's $1, like Bugbears and Borderlands, there's been like 15 people who've bought it through my affiliate code. I got 5 cents out of each one. So when I say nickels, dimes, and quarters, I'm not joking. So William Hell Has Eyes is with us. Welcome aboard. I think I've said hello to everybody. I'm sure we may have had some folks sneak on in during the news. So I'm not sure. So hopefully I have said hello to everybody. Anyway, so yes, more nonsense about the open game license today. So it is out. But strangely enough, at least as I started streaming, there has been absolutely no comment from either Hasbro or Wizards of the Coast. Now, earlier today on Twitter, D&D Beyond had tweeted out, "Oh, thank you for your patience. We're gonna have an announcement soon or whatever." And of course, I replied back to it and said, "Well, it's too late now. That all the goodwill towards Hasbro and Wizards of the Coast was evaporating." But I was kind of curious how they were going to try to polish up that turd. So it's really what I said. Some of you out there might follow me on Twitter. That's what I said. So somebody just swung in. There we go. Quantum Phase Dragon. Welcome aboard. Let me grab a sip here. So as I mentioned, we have seen some of the third-party publishers go out there and essentially say they are not going to sign 1.1. Others are kind of circling their wagons. So as an example, Stray Kismet says Jeff is a badass. No, I'm just mouthy. That's all. So yes, Cobalt Press, I am going to mention them. I see William had brought them up. Yes, and I think somebody was just talking about them in chat too. So for an example, Necrotic Gnome, who makes Old School Essentials, have not said anything. So I'm taking a guess they're circling their wagons. They're one of the companies that's going to circle their wagons and look for a fight. They're not saying anything because they don't want to bring anything upon themselves immediately. But I kind of have the feeling that that's what they're looking at. Now, Cobalt Press earlier today announced that they will not bow to this tyranny. And they announced what they're calling, I believe it's either Operation Black Flag or the Black Flag Project, one of the two. They are going to design their own open source fantasy role-playing game. And they're not the only one. So there are some other content creators, publishers, I guess I should say, who are also indicating that they are going to make their own games, their own core systems, and they will be open source. Man, I'm telling you, Wizards of the Coast has opened up a whole can of worms. Whole can of worms. Now, of course, there are people out there who are completely overreacting to this. There was actually somebody on Twitter, I'm not making this up, right, who compared feeling that they're being forced to learn a new game system to the Trail of Tears. Let that sink in for a second. What kind of fucking moron compares learning another role-playing game system to the genocide of Native Americans? I am stunned by the just ignorance and how asinine, unfortunately, it seems like the average American is. And you know damn well it was an American. Because it's like somebody pointed this out to me on Twitter, that someone, because they were responding to my comment about the moron and their Trail of Tears hyperbole. And they said, yeah, they ran across somebody who was comparing the new open game license to their father leaving their family. It was like, well, I lived through that. I can live through this. Seriously? Come on. Come on. So there is something about the open game license referring to like video content creators. I haven't taken a peek at it yet because I was doing stuff, get the show ready today, as well as reading up on some things I need to finish and get reviews out for. But as I understand that, it looks like Wizards of the Coast is going to want their nut from streamers and content creators on YouTube and things like that. So I figured that was coming. Now the way it looks like it's all broken down is how much money you bring in. So if you don't bring in anything, then you actually still have to abide by the license. I think you still have to sign on. Maybe not, but it's a non-commercial license. So if you're just doing things for free, then Wizards of the Coast isn't going to expect any money. Would not be shocked if Wizards of the Coast will still want to claim IP on that if they like it and they want to sell it, that they can just acquire it, pay you nothing, and sell it. That would not shock me with the non-commercial. And of course, then there's commercial where you fall into different levels and you can level up. So there's a comment about Joseph said, Roll for Combat had another great stream earlier today. I caught some of Steven's stream from yesterday, and it was just too long. I watched, part of it to kind of get the gist, but it was pretty long, so I didn't catch all of it. Anyway, so yes. So I thought it's kind of funny. It's like, yes, level up and be able to pay us more money. Yes. It's like, gosh. Hey, Roll for Combat's with us in chat. He says, yeah, sorry, they're long. Hey, man, it's your show. I'm just saying, another thing, too, is I'm getting a little, I'm a little open game licensed out for people, Especially when I see people saying, it's like the Trail of Tears, man. Don't make me learn a new role-playing game. That's like sentencing me to death. I was so tempted on Twitter for replying to that, saying, you know what, you need a good punch in the mouth. But then I was like, oh, yeah, somebody's going to cry. Oh, Jeff's threatening somebody on Twitter. So I was like, no, forget it. So William says, Wizards of the Coast are like Colonel Custard. See how that pans out. I got to be honest, I am not, Colonel Custard's not ringing a bell. Is that like Catch-22? William says we can all play Munchkin. Yes, sure we could. All right, Flaming Heron, you know what you need to do. Bust out that band hammer. Somebody's talking about the company that shall not be named. Anyway, Christopher says the most egregious part is where Wizards of the Coast will be able to steal your content. Well, it's not stealing. You're using their SRD. Once again, got to point out more people arguing about the open game license and their absolute ignorance about it. It's like, keep saying, if you got stuff that's, like I almost said caked, baked into the cake of your game that's from the SRD, yes, you've got a problem. If you use terms like Constitution and Charisma and you've got 20-sided dice in your game, but you have nothing from the SRD, you've got nothing to worry about. Oh, Kevin Smith says, I think he means General Custer. Kevin says, I believe Colonel Custard killed somebody with a lead pipe in a conservatory somewhere. Wasn't that Mustard? Colonel Mustard? Hey, speaking of that, I heard people are all like agog over the new edition of Clue and the new graphic models for the suspects. And they're all like gaga over them. I was like, really? But Clue still sucks. I don't care what they look like. They could be in the nude. And that game still stinks. Okay, it's not, all right, I take that back. It's not as bad as like the Game of Life or the never-ending ordeal known as Monopoly. But still, Clue's not all that great. So, Strike Kismet says, I wonder how many people name their kids after a D&D. I'm not sure what the last part is. William says Candyland is worse. Yeah, but Candyland is designed for little kids to teach them like color. Strike Kismet, how many people name their kids after a D&D reference? Well, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, little displacer beast, but we're going to have to kill you. Christopher says, wait, I've got Miss White with the rope in the conservatory. Yes. Yes. All right. Anyway, so yeah, some more developments about open game license. Still absolutely no response from Hasbro or Wizards of the Coast. And yes, I picked on D&D Beyond, but they are now owned by Hasbro, so they get to take it. So William says their son's name is Charisma. Isn't Charisma usually reserved for a woman, for a girl? Maybe not. I don't know. I thought that's usually how it works. All righty. Anyway, we're going to be jumping on into Tiletum in just a moment. But first, I think it's time for a brief intermission.
It's intermission time, folks. Time out for a delicious snack in our sparkling refreshment building. Every item a fresh, appetizing taste treat.
To add to your enjoyment of the movies, we offer cold, refreshing, full-flavored drinks, choice popcorn, freshly popped, crisp and tasty, and richly coated, taste-filled candy bars that are sure to please you. Yes, there are many good things here for your pleasure.
The smaller the bubbles, the better the beer. The smaller the bubbles, the better the beer. That's the flavor secret of Regal Cheer.
Pour a glass of Regal. Because of a special bubble filter process, Regal beer has smaller bubbles. See? The Regal bubble is definitely smaller. Small bubbles last longer, lock in more flavor. Hold Regal up to the light. Twist the glass and watch those feathery plumes of small bubbles. Now, taste Regal. Brisk, bright, mellow to the last refreshing sip. Remember,
The smaller the bubbles, the better the beer. That's the flavor secret of Regal Cheer. The smaller the bubbles, the better the beer. For that Regal beer gets Regal beer.
today.
You gonna run against the Wilkins coffee party? Start the race. Honeymark gets that going. Nobody beats Wilkins. Look at this old house. If this old house could talk, I wonder what it would say.
Why don't you get an FHA home improvement loan and fix me up?
You know, I never thought of that.
For a free copy of the booklet, Fixing Up Your Home, write to HUD, Washington, D.C., 20410, or see your local FHA-approved lender.
That sounds like good advice.
Straight from the house's mouth.
Wilkins does not live. Yep, that was... Christopher Rush says, damn, that was hardcore. Joseph says, Wilkins stuck around. Stone cold coffee. I have to say, I like that beer commercial where you probably missed it, where it looked like the film was fluttering, skipping a little bit. That was on purpose when they say bubbles make better beer. The part is when they did that with the. I was like, yeah, that's kind of funny. I had never heard of Regal beer before I saw that, so thought I would share that with you. And there better not be some little bubble with a crown floating around in my beer. That's gross. That is nasty. All right. So tonight, I am going to be taking a look at Tiletum from Board and Dice. Get ready. I'm going to mispronounce some names. Here it comes. Designed by Simone Luciani and Danielle Tassini, with artwork provided by Giorgio Di Michele and Sibnu Gelter. Yeah, at least two of those I got wrong. I'm not even probably batting 500 on that. This game is for 1 to 4 players, ages 14 and up, plays in around 60 to 100 minutes, carries an MSRP of $60. All right, let's swing on over to the other camera because here I have Tiletum. And I know how to pronounce that word, and I know what that word means, amazingly enough, and I did before this game showed up. It is Latin for tile. That's all. Easy enough. Easy enough. Vaughn says, aren't the bubbles yeast poo? Don't tell that to beer drinkers. So, Kevin says, commercials for government housing loans. There's something I don't remember from my childhood. I remember that commercial. I remember it now. Of course, I'm sure I wasn't around when it first came out, but I remember seeing that commercial. All right, let's take a look at the back of the box. Do want to point out before we dive on in that, well, as I'll mention as I'm taking the shrink off, the fine folks over at Board and Dice were kind enough to provide me with this review copy. But of course, no one affiliated with the Gaming Gang has received any other sort of compensation for me to share this coverage with you. It's always important that you know that. Let me hear it says people who are watching instantly spit out any beer they were drinking. I don't know if we've got a lot of beer drinkers hanging out. I mean, I'm sure they're beer drinkers, but they're probably not drinking beer while they watch. Although I will point out, I used to have a few cocktails when Elliot and I used to record the podcast. So I'd usually be drinking during the podcast. Of course, we were 1,800 miles apart. So I was in front of my microphone talking with him with the headphones on, and he was talking with me too. So good times back in the day. All right, welcome to early Renaissance Europe. You're a wealthy merchant looking to multiply your fortune, gain influence and recognition. While visiting cities spread all over the continent, you build trading posts and contribute to the construction of great cathedrals. You gain the favor of influential figures, inviting them into your homes and making use of their unique abilities. You gain profitable contracts and resources to fulfill them. Finally, when the time comes, you participate in fairs that yield great rewards and recognition. Will you become the greatest merchant of the early Renaissance? No, I'm sure I won't. I'm sure I won't. So Christopher Rush says, nah, all that open game license talk meant that everybody finished their adult beverages by now. All right, let's jump on inside. So I have encountered some folks on Twitter, some reviewers on Twitter, who are commenting that the solo rules of this are extremely obtuse. So I don't know. I'm just saying. One thing I will mention, though, is normally board and dice titles are rather complex. But this is not a Mesoamerican themed game. This is a European early Renaissance themed game. So that's a little bit different. So we've got a bunch of different dice in different colors. So I'm kind of curious. No, these colors must mean something. So I was going to say, oh, does each player get a particular color? But this game is for up to 4 players, and there are 5, look like 5 different colors of dice. Right, so we've got a bunch of discs and tokens. These are like columns here, as you can see. See if good old Panasonic wants to behave tonight. Got little, look like little houses. Wonder if these represent the cathedrals that you're assisting and, well, financing, I guess, to build. Taking a look at that. Then I wonder if we've got like an optional 5th player or something in here. I don't know. Oh, no, you know what? So we've got this color, and then it looks like we've got 3 colors of these. So that would be the 4 players, although we only have 3 colors in discs, unless, nope, the discs are in here too. That's kind of wild. Kind of weird way to package this. And then we have, looks like compasses and wagons in here. Okay, so a bunch of that stuff. We got a drawstring bag. Got a deck of cards we'll take a look at. I promise I won't forget. Last time we were looking at a game, and Mr. Eddie T had to point out, hey, Jeff, you didn't look at the cards. I'm like, oh, yeah, that's right. I didn't look at the cards. I got to get those cards. Yes, I'm not perfect. So we've got a rule book. I think we also have a solo rule book that are in that's in that box. So we're going to breakdown of our components. So those dice are resources. There we go. Now we know what they are. So here's a game board. We have 4-player boards, a compass, rose marker, our dice bag. As you can see, we've got a lot of components here. Got an action wheel, action tiles, action point counters, cathedral tiles. It's kind of cool. Different cathedrals. Construction cost tiles, corruption tokens. Yes. Yes. Flaming Heron says, chat keeping Jeff in line. Yep. Mr. Eddie T is just making sure that I show all the components for a game. Flaming Heron said, maybe it was in case someone doesn't like one of the colors. No, I think they for some weird reason, they packaged one of the colors separately, because as we can see here, these are our 4 colors for the players. We have victory point markers, houses, pillars. So these represent the merchant, and that's an architect. So lots of components here, as we can see. Here's our game setup. It's like quite a bit going on here. That's an example of the game setup for 4 players. So it looks like some of these cathedrals are already in the process of being built, at least looking at what that game board looked like. So we've got a preparation phase. So you're going to take dice out, depending on the number of players. You're going to roll them and place them around the auction wheel according to their value. All dice of the same value, regardless of their color, are placed in the designated section of the action wheel. So, action phase step 1, you're going to reveal face down corruption tokens. Okay. Step 2, you may perform the following steps in order. Take 1 die from the action wheel. Take the resources provided by the die, then perform the associated action or associated type of action. So that's all of that. Then there's a king phase. Player whose marker is highest on the king track takes or discards the bonus tile next to the track. There's no bonus tile available. That player scores 4 victory points. So I guess it's whoever's kowtowing to the king and probably adding to the king's coffers. So then you're going to adjust the markers on the turn order track. Player who's highest on the king track becomes first player. Second highest, second, so on. In case of a tie, it's broken in favor of the player with the bottommost marker before you started adjusting them. So we have a fair phase. So this is where players have a chance to score victory points for their achievements. So there's a total of 4 fairs held during the game, as indicated by the town tiles placed during setup. Participate in the fair scoring, you must either have a house in that town or have your merchant present in that town at the time of the fair phase. Now we have a cleanup phase. So we get our actions in detail. So we have an architect action, a merchant action, a character action. So I guess these are the famous people that you can kind of bring on board to help you out to take advantage of their abilities. And then we have a contract action. We have tasks. Oh, I'm sorry. We have king action, and we also have the Joker action. Yes, Renaissance Joker battling Renaissance Batman. So a joker action is choose one of the other 5 actions. Spend all of your action points on the options available for that action. So we have 2 possible tasks. Spend 2 gold to gain 1 other resource, stone, wood, metal, or food. Or fulfill a contract in your storehouse by spending the resources depicted on... Oh, I'm sorry. These are all possible tasks. No, for some reason I thought it said 2. A little glare here. So you can fulfill a contract in your storehouse by spending the resources depicted on the tile. You can spend food to move a crest tile from your storehouse to a dedicated empty space below a building on your player board. Contribute to the building of any cathedral where you already have a pillar. Or use the helper ability from a bonus tile in your storehouse. After resolving the helper ability, the tile is removed from the game. So we've got different types of tiles. We've got crests, we've got contracts, discussing the player boards. It's going to be pretty interesting. It does look relatively complex. Not terribly so, though. We've got our different character tiles. Kind of weird, though. I don't know. Does it really show? I guess there's a little icon showing what they are. So it looks like we've got like blacksmiths, royalty. Okay. So we have crests, we have contracts, fair tiles. So it looks like we've got quite a few fair tiles, but I think we're only going to use 4 of them in any particular game. Talking about the game board as well. And crest placement bonuses. So those are the rules. We also have the solitaire rulebook. Yep, there's the solo mode. We'll just peek real quick. But like I said, the Cardinal bot. You're taking on the Cardinal bot. Damn you, Richelieu. Flow of play on the Cardinal bot's turn. Cardinal bot's board, action resolution. But anyway, as I was saying earlier, I've seen a couple of reviewers tweet out that they were having very, very difficult times figuring out the solo rules for this game. But the thing that I would be kind of curious about is, were they trying to play it solo before actually playing it with other players? Because a lot of times games like this that have, it's usually somebody, especially with like board and dice, they usually have someone who's not actually the game designer design the solitaire rules. And I've found if you play the multiplayer game, the solo game's much easier to figure out because you've already played it. Whereas if you're only trying to play the solo mode, that might add some additional difficulties to picking up the game and learning it. I don't know. I'm not trying to, indicate that these reviewers weren't bright enough to figure it out or anything like that. I'm just saying, because I've noticed myself sometimes I'll try to play a game that's not designed specifically or originally to be solitaire. And then I try to tackle it solitaire without actually playing the core game. And it's quite a bit more difficult to figure out. All right, so we got a bunch of punch boards here. So I believe these are our player boards right here. So we should have 4 of these, and they look identical. And they're dual-sided. So we've got those, and these punch boards seem to be cut pretty well because those game boards just want to pop on out. So here we've got our helpers. And then I think these are the action tiles that go around this disc. So, and not dual-sided. So I would take a guess we're probably seeding these randomly, or they're randomly drawn, or we have a stack of them that we randomly put together. So there you go. I think these are resources here. Or maybe not. I would think maybe we'd have more of them. We have some tiles with various different cities. Are these going to be our fairs? No. No, they are not. Just our cities. As you can see, there are a lot of tokens to this game. I think these are the contracts here. They look like these would be the contracts. Then we've got the cathedrals. So they're not all unique, but there are a few different styles. Now I noticed we've got like different numbers, right? So we've got 4 of this cathedral here. That has nothing, that has 2, this has 4, that has 7. I'm curious if, as the cathedral's being built, that maybe we change the tile. That we replace the current tile with a different tile. I would not be surprised if that would be the case. And then on your game board, all these cathedrals would be unique. You're not duplicating any of them. So here are the crests. I gotta say, the graphics are really nice. Flip that on over. Oh, these are victory points here. These are victory point markers. Flaming Heron says, I wonder why the varying numbers, though. That's what I'm kind of curious about, is if, like, is it something maybe you have to spend that much to get it to the next level? Or is this how many turns remain to build it? I don't know. I honestly don't know. Or maybe these are victory points. That it's a certain cost to contribute to the construction of the cathedral, and as it goes along, you're getting more victory points for it? I don't know. Have no clue. I gotta say, my interest is piqued by this game. Flaming Heron says, not all cathedrals are born equal. Probably not, I guess. All right, here we've got our resources. So we have single, and then we have multiples of 5. So we've got those 2. So these are all of the punch boards. Then we've got our game board, which of course I'm not going to be able to fit all of this in. Wow, it is a few panels here. So let's see what we can fold out. So we've got this upper section here is where we're going to put, we've got a circular disc we're going to put there, and then we've also got the additional tiles on the punch boards that we're going to put in here. And I think this is, or maybe this is where we put the dice, the resources by value. That might be it. So here we've got London, Paris, so board is like so. So we've got the circle here, and then we've got the continent here. Antwerpen, Cologne, Frankfurt, Leipzig, Paris, Praha, which would be Prague, memory serves me correctly. Okay, so then down here, this is where we've got our helpers, our characters, our personages. Looks like this is where we'll have contracts. This is our king track for favor of the king. As you can see, we've got our victory points running around along here. And then we also have the other banners that show plus 100 and plus 200. Milano, Bordeaux, Genoa, Venezia. Nice. Tell you what, the graphic design is really, really well done. And of course, it's only one side on the mounted board. I'll tell you, for an MSRP of $60, there's quite a bit to this game. We have seen board games with higher MSRPs that didn't include this much stuff. Right, so here's our solo rule book, as well as our mounted board, our punch boards, and our rule book. All of our tokens. Our cards are coming. Ha ha ha. Yes, nobody jumped out and said, hey, Jeff, you haven't shown off those cards yet. Mr. Eddie T slipping up. After he got some, after he got called out, for, keeping me honest, slipped up, boy, I don't know. All right, so there are our resource dice. Okay, so let's see what this is. Oh, you know what? I bet this is that Cardinal bot. Flaming Heron says, sorry, did the game have cards? I never noticed. Strike Kismet says $60 isn't too bad for a box set game like this. It's got to be the Cardinal bot. So we've got the Cardinal here. Looks like kind of contracts or something. Okay, let's see what we've got here. So very special friends. Resourceful clergy. Whispers in the king's ear. What else we got? We're not going to look at all of them, but favor at the court. Ready for action. So we've got that. And then here we've got glorious spires. Friendly faces. Mercantile empire. Family alliances. So I'm curious, maybe this is also part of that solitaire mode. Talking about what actions the Cardinal bot's going to take, what resources they're going to look to acquire. Here we have everlasting fame, worldly riches. All right. Well, what can I tell you? We're just taking a peek. Don't have any clue. It's not like we read the rules while we're doing this stream. All right, everybody, we're going to just sit back. We're going to read all 20 pages of rules here. Dan Wheeler's with us in chat. Welcome aboard, Dan. Dan's pointing out, that's a pretty packed box, man. It is. That I will point out that I've yet to see a game that Board and Dice wasn't just, loading up with tokens and counters and really nice mounted boards and stuff like that. It's just their games tend to be pretty damn complex. So not easy for me to get many of the gang to the table to play them. This looks pretty cool. This looks pretty interesting. So hopefully I will have a review of Tiletum in the very near future. Joseph says, good quality. Looks like as well as nice looking too. Yeah, it is. Yeah, graphically, very nice. Very well done. Once again, this is available now from Board and Dice. It is for 1 to 4 players, ages 14 and up, plays in 60 to 100 minutes, and carries an MSRP of $60. And it is Tiletum from Board and Dice. Cool. Very nice. Looks pretty cool. So, what's cooking on tomorrow's show? Well, we are going to do a War Game Wednesday. And we are going to, man, every time I reach over to pick up this box, it's like, damn, this box is heavy. This must have 1,000 counters in it or something. But we are going to take a look at the Charge of the Three Kings from NAC War Games. And this is a Crusades game. So if I remember correctly, the battle took place in 1212 that this simulates. And it's kind of card driven as well. So that looks kind of cool. So we're going to dive on into this because NAC War Games are now available in North America. There is a North American store. So if you order these, you don't have to wait for it to be delivered from across the sea. Plus, I think NAC is actually out of Spain. Maybe. I know it's over in Europe. That's about all I can say. All righty. And then on Monday's show, we are going to be taking a peek at the second edition of Special Agency by a particular person in chat. Yes. Wancho is our designer for is it right off the top of my head? It's Dumagal? Isn't that the last name? I'm cheating. Actually, this doesn't have a last name anywhere near the last name that's used on Twitter. What says Dragonoy? Wancho Duma Dragonoy. I'm sure that's mispronounced. But yeah, looks kind of cool. It uses AI artwork, though. I know. Wancho was a little worried about sending me some of these releases because they have AI artwork. And I had pointed out, because I was talking about AI art and how Chaosium Inc. had said that they did not want their artists be using AI, and they would not publish anything from an artist who was using AI. And I said, well, you gotta keep in mind, I'm not dinging any small publisher for using AI artwork. I mean, I don't expect them to have the funds to be able to purchase a bunch of art for their games. So, and I would prefer to see something. I would prefer to see artwork. I don't want to just be looking at page after page of text. That gets boring fast. That's why you'll notice if you ever crack open some of the old role-playing games from various different publishers that are no longer around, but like Fantasy Games Unlimited comes to mind. Even if you think about it, like the Player's Handbook and Dungeon Master's Guide, yeah, there's art in there, but there's an artwork like every just 2 or 3 pages. Sometimes you go through a period or point in the book where it's, 10 pages of text and no artwork. It gets a little dry, right? Looking through that. So that's what's on the agenda. And as you can see, this is a modern kind of like espionage sort of role-playing game. So we'll be diving on into that on Monday's show. All right, that is it for this time out. Don't forget, if you like this video, by all means, please give it a quick thumbs up. Subscribe to the Gaming Gang channel if you haven't already. And if you do subscribe, ding that bell. I'll not only let you know when the Dispatch streams live Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday evenings right here on YouTube at 7 p.m. Central. I'll also inform you when I upload other videos, such as this morning's 22 stellar science fiction role-playing games deserving of your attention, and they aren't D&D. So I'm bouncing around. I may do the horror one. I may not. I don't know. I'm still on the fence. Still on the fence on that horror role-playing game video. But yeah, science fiction video is doing okay. Nowhere near what the fantasy role-playing game video has pulled in views. In fact, that video's only been out 3-4 days. It's already reached the top 10. It is in the top 10 of most viewed videos for the Gaming Gang channel. So that's saying something. Yeah, it's telling me that I don't get enough views on my videos. That's the something it's saying. Although it's got a long way to go before it gets to number one. All right. Coco B says, oh, new audio. I don't know if you noticed that. It's just a little bit compression with the audio. Hopefully it's okay. Nobody was complaining, and hopefully it's in sync, because I am using something different than I had in the past. And it almost looked like that science fiction RPG video, the audio fell out of sync at one point. Then at the end, it was in sync. So I don't know. Maybe it was just me. Caden Lemoyne, I'm sure I mispronounced that, is in chat with us. Welcome aboard. Says, can you say olive? As you can see, I can. I just said it. All right. Anyway. Oh, Coco B says the ding of the bell thing. Yeah, it's just a new overlay. That's all. Yeah, I change it up. Because one of the things was if I would forget to hit that scene before I streamed, then that little playback where the little thumb came out, and it was all like slow motion because it was a really big file. So I took a look at different kind of like transparencies. So I found something that looked a little bit better, in my opinion, a little bit different. And yes, it had a little bit of sound to it. And it's also 40 megabytes. Whereas you won't believe this, that thumb and the bell, where I said, oh, ring that bell. And I usually go ding that bell and try to time it where the bell came up. That was like 900 megabytes for something that was all of 4 seconds. So you can see why there was a problem. Dan says audio and the audio is in sync for this video. Cool. Nice. Very nice. Very nice. All righty. So I don't know why Caden's like, oh my God. Like, because I said olive. I don't know. All right, everybody. If you were watching live, thank you very much. If you watched live and took part in chat, hey, bonus experience points for you. One of these days, you're going to be able to level up just like people who are going to be paying Wizards of the Coast with open game license 1.1 can level up and pay more. Wow. Sounds amazing. But of course, I know plenty of you out there, you don't have an opportunity to watch live. Doesn't matter if you watch live or on Memorex. Thank you very much for taking time out of your busy life to watch any of the videos here on the YouTube channel. So enjoy the rest of your morning, evening, afternoon, whatever time of day it happens to be in your neck of the woods. And I certainly hope each and every one of you get to enjoy plenty of great gaming with your gang.
Oh, hey, you're still here. That's okay. You don't have to leave just yet. In fact, why don't you subscribe to the Gaming Gang channel right here, or take a peek at the latest live stream, or even find out what YouTube recommends you check out from the channel. And of course, I'm Jeff McAleer. Thanks again for watching.